Welcome to this lecture on C++ data types. C++ data types are important because all variables in our programs have to be given a data type to tell the compiler what type of data they're storing. Another reason that data types are important is because some data types are interchangeable, but you need to understand that because if you put some type of data into one type of variable, you might lose some data, and we'll be talking about that as we go through the course. The first type of data we're going to talk about is numeric data, and within the numeric category there are two data types. Int for storing whole numbers such as 100, 12, 12,000, any number that's less than or equal to 2 billion or negative 2 billion. So there's a range from approximately 2 billion to negative 2 billion. And then the other data type that stores numbers is double, and that's a type for floating point numbers such as 3.14159 or 2.1222, any number that has a fractional part. There are other numeric data types, but those are the only two we're going to be discussing in this course. Primarily, there may be one more that comes up. And they're the ones that most of the number data in your programs will need to use. The next category of data that we have is text. And within the text category we have two data types. String. String is for words and phrases like hello world, 3000 West Scenic. So notice that a number can go inside a string. Full sentences and full paragraphs and all sorts of text that you want to represent not as numbers but as literally text that you read. You'll notice that string data has double quotes around it, and that's important, especially when we look at the other type of text data type, which is char, and that's for single characters such as an A or an M or a capital Z or a lowercase z, as I show here. And you'll notice that the char data are enclosed in single quotes, and that's how we distinguish between string and char, is by double quotes for string and single quote for char. The last data type that we have is bool, and bool is used to represent true-false values. The compiler actually stores Boolean values as a 1 for true and a 0 for false, but our compiler will allow us to write true and false instead of 1 and 0. But as you see as we get into some of the examples later in another lecture, when you want to write out the value of a Boolean variable or a bool variable, it will write 1 or 0 depending on whether it's true or false. So those are the three main data types that we'll be using in this course. Number data types or numeric data types, text data types, and then the Boolean or bool for true and false values. Now there are other data types, and there are some, especially in the numbers, some subtypes, or not subtypes, but subcategories. But again, for numbers, most of our numbers are going to either be whole numbers or floating point, so we'll stick with int and double. And then for text, we'll either use string or char, and then for true-false values, we'll use Boolean. So that wraps up this lecture on data types. You might want to refer back to the chapter 1 where I talk about those in a little more detail. But with that, we're going to move on to our next video, which is going to be on declaring variables and assigning values. So look forward to seeing you in that video.